So this virtual tour stop focuses on our attempt at multi-age management of longleaf pine in the Sandhills region of North Carolina. So when we talk about multi-age management, what we're really meaning is that there's really a minimum of about 3 age classes. And we've tried to do that in this stand. If you look over this way, you can see that we have retained some overstory trees. These are between 110 and 120-year-old longleaf pine. These were retained in a shelterwood harvest that took place about 30 years ago. If you keep following me here, you can see to the right, we have some younger longleaf pine. They're about the same height, believe it or not, but much smaller in diameter, probably more like 5-6 inches in diameter on average. Those were underplanted beneath this shelterwood harvest. So it was a V-shear followed by underplanting. So that was our second age class that was introduced in the stand. And then the silviculturist who was here before me, they figured that if you brought in regular prescribed burning, burned every 3 or so years, natural seed fall from the retained overstory trees or the overstory shelter would kind of fill in the gaps and add that third age class over time and kind of continuously add new trees to the system as we opened up more areas, as there was more mortality, as some of the overstory died. So really good theory. And it worked in certain places. If you look across the whole stand, look around you, I'm pretty much in the middle of the treatment area. So over there it did pretty well. Over here we have a pretty dense stand of longleaf. So it just kind of depends on where you are. It's hard to capture on film. But what I can tell you is one thing that we have not really seen in this multi-age attempt at multi-age management is the really strong development of our lower age, or of our younger age classes. We secure decent regeneration every couple of years. Unfortunately, as we burn every 3 years to keep our mid-story hardwoods at bay to stay within the red cockaded woodpecker recovery guidelines, we knock out a lot of our longleaf regeneration. So if you were to, when you talk about multi-age management, you have the perfect reverse J-shaped curve that you sometimes see in textbooks. That's a human-made curve. You have the more naturally occurring, which would be a couple of weird even age distributions all in one stand, so a couple of different bell-shaped curves kind of in the same figure, representing different age classes. That's more of what we have here, but we have more intermediate sized trees like that second age class than we do our younger trees. So we're not really balancing it out. It's not really working for us on this site. And again, a lot of it has to do with the frequency of which we have to burn to meet our other objectives. So that is a concern. But kind of going back to the original guts of it, why would we be looking at this multi-age management? A lot of it kind of comes down to resilience. There's oftentimes concerns over things like what happens if a hurricane comes through this site? What happens if we get some type of natural disturbance that takes out a lot of your overstory trees? I would be relying on those lower age or those younger age classes to at least have a start at retaking canopy positions. The other thing from a production standpoint is we would be managing continuous cover forestry, and our harvest would largely focus on removing larger diameter trees periodically and more regularly than in like an even age rotation. I want to be careful not to say managing high quality trees though, because this is the Sandhills, and I mean you can see the trees around here. They're not the highest quality. They might be decent size, but it took them a while to get there, and they're not high quality logs. We might get one nice butt log out of each. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and shut off and talk about, make another video following up on some of this.